baby brain researchers have a name for something most fathers do without ever being taught it, without ever reading about it in a book, and without ever once thinking of it as development. It doesn't cost anything, it doesn't come in a box, you can't buy it at a baby store, and no app has ever managed to replicate it. And most dads have no idea they're doing it every single time they play. I'm going to hold off on naming it for a second, because I want you to picture something first. It's early evening. Mom has been home with the baby most of the day, feeding, soothing, the quiet, steady rhythm of care that babies come to know as safety. The baby has been fed, changed, rocked through a nap, handed toy after toy in that slow, predictable rhythm of a normal afternoon. Then a car door slams outside. Keys in the lock. Dad walks in. And something in the room changes before he even says a word. The baby's whole body shifts. Not fussier, not calmer, different, more alert. Little legs start to kick, a little more electric. Within about 90 seconds, that baby is being lifted into the air or tipped upside down or bounced on a knee like a small human roller coaster, laughing in that full-body way that only happens during rough play, the kind of laugh that comes from somewhere deeper than a tickle, the kind that makes the baby gasp for air and immediately reach up for more. Most parents write this off as personality. Dad's just the fun one. Mom's the calm one. Cute, harmless labels we hand out at barbecues and never think twice about. But developmental researchers have been quietly studying this exact pattern for decades, and what they found is that this isn't a personality quirk at all. It's a distinct neurological input, something a baby's brain is actively wired to seek out and use, and it has a name: activation parenting. Here's the plain language version. Activation parenting is a style of interaction, rougher, more physical, more unpredictable, more challenge-based, that shows up cross-culturally and disproportionately in father's play. It's not better than the calm, co-regulating style most associated with mothers. It's different, and your baby's brain is built to need both. Let's go back to that living room for a second, because this is where the concept stops being abstract and starts being something you can actually see. Picture your baby on the floor. Dad gets down on his knees, grabs both little ankles, and gently swings the baby side to side, growling in a silly voice, going just slightly too fast, then stopping right at the edge of, "Is this too much?" The baby's eyes go wide. There's a half-second pause, that flicker where you can almost watch the baby's brain deciding, "Is this safe?" And then the shriek of laughter comes, and the baby immediately reaches up, wanting more. Do it again. Do it again. That half-second pause is not nothing. That half-second is the entire point. It's happening again and again, dozens of times in a single play session, and every single time, the baby's nervous system is running a tiny experiment. Something big just happened, something unpredictable, something almost too much, and I'm still okay. That's the lesson, not the swinging itself, what the swinging teaches. Dr. Daniel Paquette, a developmental psychologist at the University of Montreal, has spent much of his career studying exactly this moment. He calls it the activation relationship, and he found something researchers hadn't fully mapped before him, that fathers, across many different cultures, not just Western industrialized ones, but across a wide range of family structures and traditions, tend to engage babies in play that is physically stimulating, novel, and just slightly unpredictable, play that pushes right up to the edge of a baby's comfort zone, and then crucially brings them back safely. Paquette's research suggests this isn't incidental. It appears to serve a specific developmental function, teaching infants how to handle novelty, risk, and uncertainty inside a relationship they trust completely. Think about what that actually means for a moment. Your baby is going to spend an entire lifetime encountering things that are big, unpredictable, and a little scary. New environments, new people, new challenges. And here, on the living room floor, at 8 months old, that baby is already getting practice. Not through lecture, not through worksheets, through laughter and ankles and a growling voice. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting, because there's a classic piece of research that shows exactly what happens when a baby doesn't get this kind of input, even briefly. You've probably heard of the still face experiment. Dr. Edward Tronick ran it decades ago, and it's still one of the most quoted studies in infant psychology. Here's the setup. A parent sits face-to-face with their baby and plays normally, warm, responsive, expressive, following the baby's lead. The baby lights up, coos, reaches out. Then, on cue, the parent goes completely still. No expression, no response, just a blank face.
Within seconds, the baby notices. The baby smiles wider, reaches further, tries every trick in the book to get the parent to re-engage. A little laugh here, a squeal there, the full repertoire a baby has for saying, "Come back to me." And when nothing works, something remarkable and a little heartbreaking happens. The baby's whole system starts to destabilize. The coos stop, the body tenses, some babies cry, some babies look away entirely, as if protecting themselves from a connection that suddenly isn't there. Tronic's experiment is usually taught as a lesson about emotional attunement, and it is. It's one of the most powerful demonstrations we have of how much babies rely on responsive faces to feel safe in the world. But there's a second layer researchers often point to that's just as important, and it's the layer that connects directly back to what's happening on that living room floor. Babies aren't just wired to need warmth. They're wired to need responsiveness to their emotional state, whether that state is calm or excited. When the input disappears, whether it's a blank face or a missing kind of play, the baby's nervous system feels the gap.
Activation play, the rougher, more physical style so many dads default to without ever naming it, is one of the key ways babies get practice regulating high arousal states, excitement, mild fear, the thrill of too much, inside a relationship that stays safe the entire time. It's the mirror image of what Tronic found, where the still face teaches a baby what happens when responsiveness disappears. Activation play teaches a baby what it feels like when big, exciting, unpredictable energy is met with total safety. Both are lessons about trust. They're just teaching it from opposite directions. So, what does this actually look like in your house starting tonight? Here's a 3-step framework you can use immediately, whether you're the dad doing the playing or the partner making space for it to happen. Step 1. Name the edge, don't avoid it. Instead of keeping play calm and predictable, the instinct a lot of parents have, especially if they're worried about too much stimulation, let it get a little bigger, a little more surprising, while staying tuned in to the baby's face the entire time. You might say, right in the middle of a bounce, "Whoa, that was a big one, wasn't it?" narrating the intensity instead of dialing it down automatically. You're not just playing, you're giving the baby language for what a big feeling feels like right as it's happening. Step 2. Pause at the peak. Right at the moment of highest excitement, mid-air, mid-tickle, mid-laugh, stop for 1 full second and just watch the baby's face before continuing. You could say, "You okay? Want more?" and then actually wait for the answer, which might be a squeal, a reach, or occasionally a slightly overwhelmed look that tells you to dial it back. This tiny pause is what turns thrilling into safe thrilling. It's the difference between chaos and co-regulated excitement, and it's the single most important step in the whole framework, because it's the moment the baby learns that even in the middle of something big, someone is still watching, still checking, still there. Step 3. Land it soft. After the big, activating moment, bring the energy back down with your voice and your body. A slow down, a hug, a lower tone. Something as simple as, okay, I've got you," said quietly right after the big laugh, while you pull the baby in close for a few seconds of stillness before the next round starts. That landing is what teaches the nervous system that big feelings always come back down safely. That's the whole lesson, encoded in about 4 seconds of play, repeated dozens of times across a single evening, without either of you ever realizing you're doing something researchers have spent careers studying. Now, let's talk about what this outperforms, because parents spend real money trying to give their babies exactly this kind of stimulation. Sensory gyms with monthly membership fees, subscription boxes promising brain-building play delivered to your door with a pamphlet explaining the science, apps that gamify tummy time with colorful graphics and progress bars, baby yoga classes with waiting lists and quarterly fees, promising bonding and sensory development in a 60-minute session. All of it chasing the same outcome that a father on the living room floor, growling and swinging his baby by the ankles for 90 seconds, is already providing for free, without a subscription, without an app, without anyone ever telling him he was doing anything more than having fun. No researcher has ever found a toy that replicates the specific combination of trust, unpredictability, and physical novelty that comes from a real person you love doing something a little bit wild with you. That's not a marketing claim. That's just what the research keeps landing on over and over again, decade after decade, across different labs and different cultures. The nervous system doesn't respond to a screen the way it responds to a parent's voice in a parent's arms. It never has, and it's not likely to start. And I want to be really clear about something before we close,
Because this isn't a video about dads being more important or better or the fun parent while someone else does the real work. It's the opposite of that. It's about recognizing that what looks like goofing around on the floor is actually one half of a complete developmental picture, the calm, co-regulating half and the activating, edge-testing half, both essential, both teachable by any parent regardless of gender, both already happening in your home whether you've had language for it or not. A single parent can do both. Two moms can do both. Two dads can do both. The names mom and dad in this research describe patterns that show up statistically across cultures. They don't describe a rule about who's allowed to provide which kind of love. So if you're a dad who's ever felt a little sheepish that your version of bonding looks more like mild chaos than quiet cuddling, the growling, the tossing, the one more time until your arms are actually tired, you're not missing the tender stuff. You're building something just as tender in a different shape. Every time you catch that baby at the bottom of the swing, every time you pause and check the face before going again, every time you bring the energy back down with a quiet, "I've got you," you are teaching your baby's nervous system one wild 90-second burst at a time that big feelings are survivable, that thrill can be trusted, and that no matter how far the swing goes, there are always two safe hands waiting to catch them at the bottom. That's not roughhousing. That's architecture. And it's being built one growl, one gasp, one soft landing at a time, in a living room that doesn't look anything like a laboratory. If this changed how you see your next living room wrestling match, send it to a dad who needs to hear it. And if you want more of what your baby's brain is quietly asking for, the stuff no one tells you, stick around. There's more here for you.